Welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Let's begin. Lagos glittering Victoria Island skyline, where glass mansions gleam under the golden sun. Inside one such mansion, Adesuwa sat at her vanity, staring at her reflection. Her flawless makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes. At 38, she was the epitome of Lagos high society. Designer dresses, a Range Rover, and a husband, Dr. Lanra, who ran the city's top fertility clinic. But beneath the glamour, her world was crumbling. 10 years of marriage, 10 failed IVF cycles, and now, a chilling ultimatum from her mother-in-law, Madame Florence. Give my son a child, or I'll find a wife who can. Adesuwa's manicured fingers trembled as she clutched the negative pregnancy test. Her phone buzzed, another message from Florence. Time is running out. Lanra deserves better. She tossed the phone across the room, its screen cracking on the marble floor. I'm trying, she screamed to no one. The silence that followed was deafening. Downstairs, Meera, the 24-year-old housemaid, polished the dining table, her movements mechanical. She'd been with the family for 2 years, her dreams of university buried under the weight of poverty. Her salary barely covered her mother's diabetes medication, but Adesuwa's home was a lifeline. Meera overheard the shouting and froze. She'd seen Adesuwa's meltdowns before, but this felt different, darker. That evening, Adesuwa called Meera to her private study, a room of velvet curtains and gold-framed mirrors. Meera stood awkwardly, her faded wrapper contrasting with the opulence. Adesuwa's voice was low, almost a whisper. Meera, you know my situation. The doctors, the treatments, it's not working. I need a child. Lanra needs a child. Meera nodded, unsure where this was going. Adesuwa leaned closer, her perfume suffocating. I want you to carry my baby. As a surrogate. I'll pay you 5 million Nigerian nairas. Enough to change your life. Meera's heart raced. 5 million naira? That could pay for her mother's care, her brother's school fees, a future. But something in Adesuwa's eyes, cold, calculating, made her stomach twist. Madam, I don't know if I can. Think about it, Adesuwa cut in, her smile tight. But don't take too long. Loyalty has a price, Meera. She handed Meera a glass of water, her fingers brushing Meera's hand deliberately. The gesture felt like a warning. That night, Meera lay on her thin mattress in the servants' quarters, staring at the ceiling. The money was tempting, but her aunt's words echoed in her mind. Rich people don't give without taking more. She shivered, unsure if it was the night's chill or the glint she'd seen in Adesuwa's eyes. Meera woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. A text from her cousin, Tolu. Mama's hospital bill is due. 200,000 Nigerian nairas. Can you send? Her heart sank. She had 12,000 Nigerian nairas in her savings. The weight of her family's needs pressed down like a physical force. At breakfast, Adesuwa was unusually kind, offering Meera an extra plate of jollof rice. Have you thought about my offer? She asked, her voice syrupy. Meera nodded, her mouth dry. I need to know more, madam. What does it mean, exactly? Adesuwa's smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes. Simple. You carry the baby through IVF. You give birth. You hand the child to me. Then you walk away with 5 million Nigerian nairas. No complications, no emotions. Just business. Meera's mind raced. IVF sounded clinical, safe. But the word business felt wrong, like she was selling a piece of herself. Will I see the baby after? She asked, her voice small. Adesuwa's laugh was sharp. See it. Meera, you'll be paid to forget it. That's the deal. She slid a contract across the table, the pages thick with legal jargon. Sign by tonight, or the offer's off. Meera took the contract to her room, her hands shaking. She called her aunt, Ngozi, a no-nonsense woman who sold fabrics at Balagan Market. Auntie, they want me to carry their baby for money. 5 million. Ngozi's voice crackled through the phone. Meera, listen to me. Rich people don't pay that kind of money unless they want your soul. What's the catch? Read the contract. Meera tried, but the words blurred, terms like confidentiality, termination clause, exclusive rights. She didn't understand half of it. By evening, desperation won. She signed, her signature shaky, and handed the contract to Adesuwa, who smiled like a predator closing in on prey. The next morning, Meera's life changed. Adesuwa moved her to a guest room inside the main house, complete with a new bed and a small TV. For the baby's health, Adesuwa said, but her eyes lingered on Meera's every move. A private nurse arrived, administering blood tests and strange supplements. To prepare your body, the nurse said, her tone flat. Meera noticed the cameras first. Tiny lenses in the corners of her room, blinking red at night. For security, Adesuwa explained when Meera asked. We can't risk anything happening to you, or the baby. But Meera felt watched, not protected. Her phone was taken, for privacy, replaced with a basic model that only called Adesuwa or the driver. Her salary stopped, with Adesuwa promising, it's all part of the 5 million Nigerian nairas. At dinner, Adesuwa laid out the rules. No leaving the house without permission, no visitors, no social media. You're carrying my legacy, Meera. You're not just a maid anymore. The words were meant to flatter, but they felt like chains. One night, Meera overheard Adesuwa and Lanra arguing. This is insane, Adesuwa. Lanra's voice boomed. Why her? Why not a professional surrogate? Because she's ours, Adesuwa hissed. She's loyal. She's nobody. No one will believe her if she talks. Meera's blood ran cold. She pressed her ear to the door, catching Lanra's reply. You're playing a dangerous game, Adesuwa. This could ruin us. Adesuwa laughed, low and cruel. Or ruin us. Or save us. She signed the contract, Lanra. She's ours. Meera backed away, her heart pounding. She clutched the contract's copy, hidden under her pillow, and realized she hadn't kept a copy for herself. The cameras blinked. She was trapped. Lanra was in his home office when Adesuwa broke the news. The mahogany desk was cluttered with medical journals, a stark contrast to the chaos of his wife's plan. Meera, he sputtered, his glasses slipping down his nose. Our maid. Are you mad, Adesuwa? Adesuwa paced, her heels clicking on the hardwood. She's perfect, Lanra. Young, healthy, desperate. She won't talk. She can't afford to. Lanra's jaw tightened. This is unethical. I'm a doctor, Adesuwa. I don't exploit my staff. Exploit. Adesuwa laughed, tossing her hair. We're giving her a fortune. She's a nobody. This is her chance to be something. Lanra stared at her, his moral compass warring with his desire for a child. And after? What happens to her? Adesuwa's eyes narrowed. She disappears with her money. We raise our child. No one knows. Reluctantly, Lanra agreed, but his unease grew. That evening, he found Meera in the kitchen, scrubbing dishes despite her new status. Her hands trembled, and her eyes were red. Meera, he said softly, are you okay with this? She looked up, startled. Do I have a choice, sir? Lanra's heart twisted. You do. You can say no. Meera's gaze dropped to the floor. Madam says it's too late. I signed. Lanra hesitated, then stepped closer, his voice low. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. Not as your boss, as someone who cares. His hand brushed her arm, lingering a moment too long. Meera pulled away, her pulse racing. His kindness felt genuine, but dangerous. She fled to her room, the cameras watching. The IVF failed. 3 cycles, 3 disappointments. Adesuwa's desperation turned manic. One night, she cornered Lanra in their bedroom, her voice a venomous whisper. The doctors are useless. We're running out of time. Just sleep with her, Lanra. One night. Get it done. Lanra recoiled. You're insane. I'm not doing that. Adesuwa's eyes glinted with tears, or was it rage? You want a child, don't you? Do it for us. For me. Meera was summoned the next day. Adesuwa sat her down, her tone eerily calm. IVF isn't working. We need to simplify things. One night with Lanra. No needles, no labs. Just you and him. Meera's stomach churned. "Madam, I can't." "You can," Adesuwa snapped. "You signed the contract. You're not here to feel, Meera. You're here to deliver." That night, Meera stood in the guest room, her hands shaking as she waited. Lonra entered, his face ashen. "Meera, I'm sorry," he whispered. "We don't have to." "Do it," Meera said, her voice hollow. "I need the money. My mother's dying." The act was quick, mechanical, but something shifted. Lonra's touch was gentle, his apologies endless. Meera cried silently after he left. She didn't see the camera's red light flicker in the corner, or hear Adesuwa's muffled sobs from the next room. The Lagos mansion, once a symbol of Adesuwa's triumph, now felt like a gilded cage to Meera. 3 months pregnant, her body was changing, but so was her world. The guest room, with its plush bed and blinking cameras, was her prison. Adesuwa's control tightened like a noose. Meera's phone, the basic one Adesuwa gave her, was monitored, her calls screened. Her salary, once a lifeline for her mother's hospital bills, had vanished, folded into the promised 5 million Nigerian nairas. "You'll get it all after the baby," Adesuwa said, her smile sharp as a blade. Meera stood in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner, when Adesuwa swept in, her designer kaftan trailing like a queen's robe. "You're eating too much," Adesuwa snapped, eyeing Meera's plate. "The baby needs nutrients, not your greed." Meera's cheeks burned. "I'm eating for 2, madam." Adesuwa's eyes narrowed. "Don't talk back. You're a vessel, Meera. Nothing more." She handed Meera a bottle of pills, white, unmarked. "Take these. For the baby's health." Meera hesitated, her fingers hovering over the bottle. "What are they?" Adesuwa's voice turned icy. "Do you want the money or not?" "Swallow them." Meera complied, but the pills tasted bitter, and her stomach churned. She hid one under her tongue, spitting it into a tissue when Adesuwa left. Something felt wrong. That night, Meera overheard Adesuwa on the phone in the study. "Yes, the pills are working. She's docile. No, she doesn't suspect anything." Meera's heart pounded. She clutched the hidden pill, her only evidence of something sinister brewing. Lonra, meanwhile, grew distant. He avoided Meera's gaze at breakfast, his eyes fixed on his coffee. But when Adesuwa left the room, he slipped Meera a plate of extra yam. "You need strength," he whispered. "I'm sorry, for everything." His guilt was palpable, but so was the tension in his touch, a lingering warmth that confused Meera. Adesuwa's paranoia escalated. She installed a lock on Meera's door, claiming it was for safety. Meera's trips outside were limited to doctor visits, always with a driver who reported back to Adesuwa. The mansion's walls closed in, and Meera felt like a ghost in her own life. Lonra's conscience gnawed at him. As a doctor, he'd sworn to do no harm, yet here he was, complicit in his wife's scheme. Late one night, he found Meera in the garden, staring at the stars. Her wrapper was frayed, her face drawn. "Meera," he said softly, "are you okay?" She flinched, her voice low. "Do I look okay, sir? I'm locked in, watched. Fed pills I don't trust." Lonra's jaw tightened. "Pills? What pills?" Meera hesitated, then showed him the one she'd hidden. "These. Madam says they're for the baby, but—" Her voice trailed off, fear in her eyes. Lonra's face darkened. He pocketed the pill, promising to test it. "I'll handle this," he said, but his voice wavered. "I never wanted this, Meera. I swear." "Then why did you agree?" Meera's voice cracked, her anger spilling out. "You and Madam, you're the same. You use people like me because we're nothing to you." Lonra recoiled, stung. "You're not nothing," he said, stepping closer. "I see you, Meera. I care about you." His hand brushed hers, and for a moment, their eyes locked, a dangerous spark in the darkness. The next day, a private midwife arrived, a stern woman named Nurse Agnes. She administered more pills, her hands cold and clinical. "For the baby's growth," she said, but her eyes avoided Meera's. When Meera asked questions, Agnes snapped, "You're not paid to think." Meera spat another pill into her tissue, her resolve hardening. She had to know what was happening. That evening, Lonra slipped her a note, "Lab results tomorrow. Stay strong." But as he left, Adesuwa appeared in the doorway, her smile venomous. "Getting cozy with my husband, Meera? Don't forget your place." Myra's heart sank. The cameras had caught everything. The lab results came back. Lonra cornered Meera in the laundry room, his face pale. "The pills, they're not for the baby. They're sedatives, Meera. To keep you compliant." His voice shook. "Adesuwa's controlling you, us. I'm going to confront her." Myra's knees buckled. Why would she do this? What does she want? Lonra looked away. "Power. A child. I don't know anymore." He pressed a burner phone into her hand. "Use this. Call someone you trust. Get out." Myra's cousin, Tolu, was her only hope. She sent a frantic text, "I'm trapped. Help me. Adesuwa's mansion, 6. Tolu replied instantly, "I'm coming." Midnight. At 11:55 p.m., Meera crept to the back gate, her heart pounding. The cameras were off. Lonra's doing, she hoped. She clutched a small bag with her ID and the hidden pills. The gate creaked open, and Tolu's battered Okada idled outside. "Hurry," he whispered. But headlights flashed. A sleek Mercedes blocked the gate. Adesuwa stepped out, her silk robe glowing under the moonlight. "Going somewhere, Meera?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes were a storm. "You forgot. I own you. And the child." Meera froze, her bag slipping to the ground. Tolu revved the Okada, but Adesuwa's driver, a hulking man named Chidi, grabbed him. "Run, Meera!" Tolu shouted before Chidi pinned him down. Adesuwa stepped closer, her heels clicking. "You signed a contract, Meera. You're mine until that baby's born. Try this again, and your family pays the price." She nodded to Chidi, who dragged Tolu away. Meera was marched back to the mansion, the lock on her door clicking shut. 9 months passed in a blur of fear and isolation. Myra's belly swelled, but her spirit withered. Adesuwa's control was absolute. No visitors, no phone, no freedom. Nurse Agnes monitored every heartbeat, every meal. Meera clung to one thought, her baby. She whispered to it at night, promising a better life. The labor came suddenly, pain ripping through her at dawn. Adesuwa was there, barking orders at Agnes. "Sedate her. No." Meera fought, but the needle pierced her arm, and the world blurred. She woke hours later in a sterile room, her body empty. No baby. No cries. Adesuwa stood over her, her face a mask of pity. "I'm sorry, Meera. It was stillborn. A boy." Her voice was too smooth, too rehearsed. Myra's heart shattered. "I want to see him," she croaked. Adesuwa's smile faltered. "It's not possible. We've handled everything." She left, her heels echoing. Meera lay there, numb, until midnight. Then she heard it, a faint cry through the walls. Her baby. Alive. She stumbled to her feet, weak from sedation, and followed the sound to a locked nursery door. She jimmied the lock with a hairpin, her hands shaking. Inside, a crib held a sleeping boy, his tiny chest rising. Myra's breath caught. He had her birthmark, a crescent moon on his shoulder. She reached for him, but footsteps approached. Adesuwa's voice hissed through the dark. "You shouldn't be here, Meera." Myra's hands trembled as she hid the burner phone Lonra had given her. She'd recorded his confession months ago, after the night they slept together. His words haunted her. "I didn't want this, Meera. Adesuwa forced me. I'm sorry." Now, it was her weapon. She uploaded the audio to X from a neighbor's stolen Wi-Fi, her fingers shaking. The post exploded. Lagos doctor confesses to exploiting Maid as surrogate. #Mademother, within hours. #Mademother trended, with thousands sharing Myra's story. Comments flooded in, "This is modern slavery. Adesuwa is a monster." Adesuwa fought back, posting a polished press release on Instagram. "The lies of a jealous servant will not tarnish my family. Meera is unstable, ungrateful. We gave her everything." Her followers rallied, but the tide was turning. Myra's next move was bolder. She smuggled a photo of the baby's birthmark to Tolu, who'd escaped Chitty's grip. He took it to a lab, confirming the baby's DNA matched Meera's. Tolu posted the results online, alongside a photo of the crescent moon mark. Nigeria erupted. The birthmark was unmistakable, identical to one in an old photo of Meera as a newborn, shared by her aunt. The internet went wild. "That's her baby," one ex-user posted, gaining 50,000 retweets. Celebrities chimed in, demanding justice. Adesuwa's perfect world began to crack. Lagos buzzed with hashtag Mademother fever. Meera's leaked audio and the baby's DNA proof had set the internet ablaze. X-posts racked up millions of views, with hashtags like hashtag Justice for Meera and hashtag Surrogate Scandal trending across Nigeria. Celebrities weighed in. Nollywood star Chioma Chukwuka tweeted, "Meera's story is every woman's nightmare. Shame on Adesuwa." Feminist groups organized rallies outside Adesuwa's Victoria Island mansion, chanting, "No more silence. No more exploitation." Politicians, sensing votes, condemned the elite abuse of power in fiery press conferences. Adesuwa's empire crumbled. Her skincare brand lost endorsements. Her socialite friends ghosted her. Lonra's fertility clinic faced boycotts, with patients canceling appointments after ex-users exposed his role. Adesuwa tried damage control, hosting a tearful Instagram live. "Meera is lying," she sobbed, her makeup flawless despite the tears. "She seduced my husband, manipulated us. We're the victims." But the comments were brutal. "Liar. Give Meera her baby." Her follower count plummeted by 100,000 overnight. Meera, still trapped in the mansion, saw the chaos unfold on the burner phone Lonra had slipped her. Tolu, her cousin, smuggled updates through coded texts. "You're a hero out here. Keep fighting." Meera's heart swelled, but fear lingered. Adesuwa's icy stares grew colder, her threats sharper. "You think you've won?" Adesuwa hissed one morning, cornering Meera in the hallway. "The internet forgets, Meera. I don't." Meera met her gaze, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. "The truth doesn't forget, madam." "Neither do I." Adesuwa's smile was venomous, but Meera saw a crack, fear in her eyes. That night, Tolu sent a photo to Meera's burner phone, a protest poster with the baby's birthmark and the words, "Iamide belongs to Meera." It was shared 200,000 times in hours. Meera clutched the phone, tears streaming. She wasn't alone anymore. Meera's fight moved to the courtroom. With pro bono lawyers from a women's rights NGO, she filed a lawsuit against Adesuwa and Lonra for parental rights, citing exploitation, coercion, and breach of consent. The case exploded across Nigeria, dubbed the surrogate scandal by tabloids. Courtroom sketches of Meera, head high in a simple wrapper, dominated headlines. Adesuwa, draped in designer suits, glared from the defendant's table, while Lonra sat silently, his face a mask of shame. The first hearing was electric. Meera's lawyer, Barrister Amaka, a fierce advocate with a razor-sharp tongue, laid out the case. "My client was coerced into a pregnancy, stripped of her autonomy, and drugged to ensure compliance. This is modern slavery, Your Honor." The gallery gasped as Amaka presented the lab results of the sedatives, the contract's predatory clauses, and the DNA proof tying Iamide to Meera. Adesuwa's lawyer, a slick man named Mr. Okoye, countered with venom. "Meera is a gold digger, a maid who saw an opportunity to extort a wealthy family. She signed willingly. She's no victim." He waved a doctored photo of Meera smiling with Lonra, implying an affair. The courtroom buzzed, but Meera's eyes burned with defiance. When she took the stand, her voice trembled but grew stronger. "I was their maid, yes. But I'm a mother. I carried Iamide for 9 months. I felt him kick. I heard him cry. They took him, drugged me, lied to me. I want my son." A tear rolled down her cheek, and the judge, a stern woman with kind eyes, paused to wipe her glasses. The gallery was silent, some jurors visibly moved. Outside, protesters chanted Meera's name. Lonra's medical license was suspended pending investigation, and Adesuwa deleted her social media accounts, unable to withstand the hate. Meera's lawyers warned her, "This is just the start. Adesuwa will fight dirty." The trial's second week was a turning point. Meera's team presented a bombshell, the fake birth certificate Adesuwa had filed, naming the baby Oluwafemi and listing herself as the mother. Meera countered with the truth. "His name is Maid," she said on the stand, her voice clear. "It means, my joy has come. I chose it the night he was born, before they took him." To prove it, Barrister Amaka played a video Meera had secretly recorded on the burner phone. In it, Meera sang a Yoruba lullaby to Maid in the nursery, his tiny hand clutching her finger. When she sang his name, he turned to her voice, his eyes bright. The courtroom screens showed the moment, and gasps filled the air. A juror wept openly. The video leaked to X, posted by an anonymous supporter. It hit 10 million views in 24 hours, with hashtag #IamId trending globally. Comments poured in, "That's his mother. How can you steal a child's name?" Nigerian musicians remixed the lullaby into protest anthems, and street vendors sold T-shirts with #IamId's birthmark. Adesuwa's composure cracked. During a recess, she cornered Meera in the courthouse bathroom. "You think a song makes you a mother?" she spat. "I paid for that child. He's mine." Meera stood tall. "You paid for my pain, madam. Not my son." Adesuwa's hand twitched, as if to strike, but a security guard entered, and she stormed out. That night, Meera received a chilling text from an unknown number, "Drop the case, or #IamId pays." Her hands shook as she showed it to Tolu. "They're scared," he said. "Keep going." Adesuwa fought back with a vengeance. She hired a PR firm to smear Meera, offering 10 million Nigerian nairas to anyone who could discredit her. Fake nudes of Meera surfaced on X, captioned, "The maid who seduced a doctor." Old debts from Meera's late father were mysteriously revived, with loan sharks harassing her mother. A fire gutted Meera's family apartment in Ajegunle, deemed accidental by police, but Tolu smelled arson. Meera's spirit wavered, but an unexpected ally emerged, Madame Florence, Lonra's mother. The older woman, once Adesuwa's biggest supporter, had soured on her daughter-in-law. She visited Meera in a safe house arranged by the NGO, her face etched with regret. "I pushed Adesuwa to give me a grandchild," Florence confessed, her voice heavy. "I didn't know it would come to this. You're #IamId's mother, Meera. I'll testify for you." Florence's testimony was explosive. In court, she revealed Adesuwa's obsession with control, her threats to divorce Lonra if he didn't comply, and her plan to erase Meera after the birth. The gallery erupted, and Adesuwa's lawyer scrambled to object. Florence's final words rang out, "Meera gave my grandson life. Adesuwa gave her only pain." The internet crowned Florence a hero, with hashtag #GrandmaJustice trending. Meera, emboldened, posted a video on X, holding a photo of #IamId. "This is my son," she said. "I won't stop until he's in my arms." The post hit 5 million likes, but the threats escalated, anonymous calls, a brick through the safehouse window. Lonra broke. The weight of his complicity, the public scorn, and Florence's testimony pushed him to the edge. He requested a live TV interview on Channels TV, Nigeria's biggest network, titled "The Truth About the Surrogate Scandal." The nation tuned in, expecting a defense. Instead, Lonra bared his soul. "I failed Meera," he said, his voice cracking. "Adesuwa pressured me into this arrangement. I slept with Meera, not out of desire, but because I was weak. I let my wife drug her, control her. I'm ashamed." He looked into the camera, tears streaming. "Meera is the only woman who gave me something real, a son. I don't deserve her forgiveness, but I'll fight for her to have #IamId." The interview trended in 14 countries, with 20 million views on X. Nigerians were divided. Some called Lonra a coward, others a redeemed man. Adesuwa watched from the mansion, smashing a wine glass against the wall. "You traitor!" she screamed at the TV. She filed for divorce the next day, citing irreconcilable differences. Meera watched the interview in the safehouse, her heart conflicted. Lonra's words stirred something, pity, maybe gratitude, but not trust. "He's sorry now," she told Tolu, "but where was he when I was locked in that room?" Tolu nodded. "He's trying to save himself. But this helps us. The world's watching." Meera's lawyers used the confession to strengthen their case, but Adesuwa's legal team prepared a counterattack, hinting at new evidence to destroy Meera's credibility. The Lagos High Court was a circus, cameras flashing as Meera walked in, her simple Ankara dress a stark contrast to Adesuwa's tailored blazer. The trial had gripped Nigeria for weeks, with #Mademother posts dominating X and protesters crowding the courthouse steps. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation. Barrister Amaka, Meera's lawyer, had built an airtight case. The sedative pills, the predatory contract, Lonra's televised confession, and Madame Florence's damning testimony. Adesuwa's defense, led by the slick Mr. Okoye, leaned on character attacks, painting Meera as a manipulative opportunist. But the tide had turned. The judge, Justice Adebisi, a woman known for her no-nonsense rulings, took the bench. Her voice was steady as she delivered the verdict. This court finds that Meera Adebayo was coerced into an exploitative arrangement. The contract is null and void due to lack of informed consent. Full maternal rights are granted to Ms. Adebayo for the child, Maid. Dr. Lonra and Mrs. Adesuwa Okonkwo are granted visitation rights under supervised conditions. The gallery erupted in cheers. Meera's knees buckled, and Tolu caught her, tears streaming down his face. "You did it, Meera," he whispered. Across the room, Adesuwa stormed out, her heels clicking furiously, ignoring reporters' microphones. Lonra remained seated, his head bowed. As Meera left the courtroom, he approached her, his eyes red. "Meera, I'm sorry. I'll respect the court's ruling. If you ever need me, for Maid." Meera cut him off, her voice firm but not unkind. "You can visit, Lonra. As a donor, not a dad. Maid has one parent now, me." She walked away, head high, as cameras captured the moment. X exploded with reactions. "Meera is a queen. Justice for Maid." But as Meera hugged Tolu outside, a chill ran through her. Adesuwa's parting glare had promised something darker than defeat. This wasn't over. Meera's victory wasn't just personal, it was a movement. With Maid now in her arms, she moved into a modest apartment funded by donations from #Mademother supporters. The baby's crescent moon birthmark, now a symbol of her fight, adorned protest banners and T-shirts across Lagos. Meera, once a voiceless maid, found her voice. She launched the Surrogate Truth Project, a non-profit advocating for domestic workers' rights and ethical surrogacy laws. At a press conference, flanked by her lawyers and Madame Florence, Meera spoke with quiet power. "I was a maid, paid to be silent. But silence didn't protect me, it trapped me. No woman should lose her child, her dignity, or her freedom to the powerful." Her words struck a chord. The project's website crashed from traffic, and donations poured in from Nigeria, Ghana, and beyond. A documentary crew approached her, turning her story into Unsilenced, the maid who fought back. The film premiered at a Lagos film festival, drawing tears and standing ovations. International media took notice. BBC, Al Jazeera, and CNN ran features on Nigeria's Mademother. Meera was invited to speak at the United Nations in Geneva, her first trip abroad. Standing before global leaders, she held up a photo of Maid. "This is why I fight," she said. "For him, and for every woman told she's nothing." Back home, Adesuwa's name became synonymous with scandal. Her skincare brand folded, and her socialite status evaporated. Lonra, stripped of his medical license, volunteered at a free clinic, seeking redemption. Meera's star rose, but so did the whispers. Adesuwa was planning something. Adesuwa's downfall was spectacular. Bankrupt and shunned, she holed up in a rented apartment in Lekki, a far cry from her Victoria Island mansion. Her divorce from Lonra was finalized, leaving her with little but debts. Desperate to reclaim her narrative, she self-published a memoir, Betrayed, My Truth, claiming Meera and Lonra had conspired against her. The book flopped, bookstores refused to stock it, and ex-users mocked it with memes. Adesuwa's book, 200 pages of lies, 0 Nigerian naira sales. Rumors swirled about her whereabouts. Some said she'd fled to Ghana, living under a false name. Others claimed she was in therapy, battling the shame. Then, a grainy video surfaced on X, Adesuwa at Kotoka International Airport, begging for change, her once pristine appearance haggard. "Is this her?" the caption read, sparking 300,000 retweets. Nigerians debated, pity or justice. Meera watched the video in her apartment, Iamide asleep in her arms. Tolu, ever loyal, shook his head. She brought this on herself, Meera. Don't feel sorry. I don't, Meera said softly. But I don't celebrate it either. She's lost everything. Her focus was Iamide, now a chubby toddler with her eyes. The world hadn't forgotten her story, but Adesuwa's shadow lingered, a ghost of vengeance. Iamide was 3, his laughter filling Meera's small apartment. Her activism had made her a local hero, and she was invited to give a TEDx talk in Lagos, titled From Silence to Strength. The auditorium was packed, with thousands more watching online. Meera stood on stage, her voice steady as she recounted her journey. I was a maid, told I was nothing. But I carried a child, and he carried me to my purpose. As she spoke, Iamide toddled onto the stage, escaping Tolu's grasp. The audience laughed, charmed by his crescent moon birthmark peeking from his sleeve. Meera knelt, scooping him up. Then, in a clear voice, Iamide said, "That's my mummy." The crowd gasped, then cheered, tears streaming. Meera hugged him, her eyes wet. The moment was captured on video, uploaded to Instagram Reels. It became Africa's most liked reel, with 15 million views in days. Comments flooded in, "This is why Meera fought. Iamide knows his queen." Even skeptics who doubted Meera's story melted, with one ex-user writing, "I was wrong. Meera's the real deal." The reel's virality brought new opportunities, speaking engagements, a book deal, and a scholarship fund for domestic workers' children. But it also stirred old wounds. Adesuwa, watching from obscurity, sent an anonymous email to Meera, "Enjoy your fame. It won't last." Meera's story caught Netflix's eye. They greenlit a biopic, Unsilenced, with a Nollywood cast and Meera as a consultant. The global premiere in Lagos was a red carpet event, attended by activists, celebrities, and Madame Florence, who hugged Meera tightly. "You've made us proud," she whispered. The film traced Meera's journey, from the desperate Maid in Adesuwa's mansion to the activist addressing the UN. The final scene was a masterstroke, a mirror of Chapter 1, but reversed. Meera sat at a dining table in her own home, Iamide giggling beside her. A respectful young maid served tea, smiling at Meera with admiration. Meera smiled back, her eyes radiant with peace. The screen faded to black with her voiceover, "They paid me to be silent. Instead, I became unforgettable." The biopic broke streaming records, trending in 20 countries. Ex-users called it a love letter to resilience, with hashtag Unsilenced amassing 50 million posts. Meera used the royalties to expand the Surrogate Truth Project, opening shelters for exploited workers across Nigeria. Iamide started school, his birthmark a badge of their shared victory. Adesuwa faded into obscurity, her name a cautionary tale. Lonra visited Iamide monthly, keeping his distance but honoring Meera's terms. Meera, now a global icon, walked through Lagos with her head high, no longer a maid but a mother, a warrior, a voice. The end.